Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Angela Wolf here, Brother Brand Ambassador. I guess I should say Happy New Year because this is our first live show since the new year, and boy, have we missed you. And I see all of you already in the comments saying you're so excited that the show is back. Yes, our New Year, great Christmas holiday, whatever you were celebrating for those few weeks. It was wonderful. The weather, maybe a little iffy, but we've got something fun for you today. Speaking of weather, I notice it's going to snow and ice in Texas and the southern states. So we have got a great project for you. It's not really a project. It's really a lot of information to quilt for layering in the warmth. No, it's not quite the title. That's not quite the title, but it's about quilting and staying warm. I think it's going to be perfect for you to stay inside to sew. So say hi, say where you're from. We are live, and we've got Cathy Gandy joining us today. Cathy, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And you?
Okay, so when I saw this topic, I was like quilting for projects, and I was thinking of, quilting for like, I don't know. I always think of hot pads when I think of quilting, or quilting something for a jacket, but then it said for warmth, and little did we know we're going to really need that this week.
Exactly.
Well, everybody's rolling in. They're saying Happy New Year. They're so excited we're back. So we're excited to be here too. Thanks for coming to watch. So Cathy, I can't think of anyone better to give information on coming up with quilting projects or quilted fabric and telling us what we should use. What would be the best? Do you want to make a puffer jacket? What do you want to make?
Well, since it's set for warmth, I thought that we should check out some battings and figure out which one is the warmest. And so then if you want to, you can layer battings. You don't have to just use one batting. You can use two if you want. Now, you do have to do some maneuvering, but it can be done.
I think it can be done. And also, depending on what brother machine you have, you're going to get some tips for that too. I would say when I'm out and about or I talk to some of my fellow sewing friends and they talk about quilting, they say there's two things. One, it's really tricky to get those lines perfectly straight when you're sewing, to line them up. Maybe it's not 1 inch wide. Maybe you're making something more decorative, which you see in fashion all the time. And then another one is always when they start quilting, they get to the end and the layers aren't even. So I'm so excited for the lessons today. I'm going to let you take it away, and I'm going to monitor the questions. And yes, we are live. I see that Facebook's a little slow getting on today, but we're live on Brothers Sewing, Facebook and YouTube. Ask your questions. Can't wait. But Cathy, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thank you so much. Well, we're going to talk a lot about batting. So if you have any batting questions, I'll try to answer them. I don't know everything, but I'll try to answer them. The first batting that I'm going to show, because this is for warmth, and I find that wool batting is the best for warmth because it's going to wick, it's going to breathe, whereas polyester is warm, but it's not going to let any of your body heat out. So wool, I think, is best. And here's two different wools, battings, and I don't know if you can see or not, probably not, but one is thicker than the other, and that's your loft. So you can get a thicker one or a thinner one. Of course, the thicker one's going to be warmer. So with wool batting, if you know anything about fibers, wool fibers are longer than cotton fibers. So they're going to not beard as badly as the cotton fibers sometimes. And that is when you quilt sometimes, the needle will hit the batting just right, and it will push some of the fibers through the hole, and it will show on the front of the back of the quilt. So I do like wool batting, but it's expensive. So it may be just for special projects that you want to use the wool batting. And then we have, well, I was just showing you cotton instead of wool. Here's my wool. This may be easier to see. So here you go. Do you see the two different layers, maybe? One is
I can see that.
And then these fibers are a little bit longer. So when I pull them out, you can see that they're not as short. They're longer. So they hold together better. So this is the cotton. And what I wanted to show you with this, and I forgot, is this is a white. If you're doing a quilt or a garment that's mostly white, you want to make sure that you get a white batting, because if you do the natural colored one, it'll shadow through and it will make your white look dirty. So you want to make sure that you use a white batting. And so when I take this and I pull it, you're going to just see that there's just little teeny, they just don't pull out as much as the wool ones. So wool fibers are about an inch or so longer than the cotton ones. So you have a range of length of fibers. Let me see, I wrote it down, but I can't remember. Wool fibers are 1 to 3 inches, and the merino wool, which is nice, that's a sheep, and those are 3.5 to 4.5 long. So they're a lot nicer. So, and the cotton ones are 1/2 to 2 inches long. So that's information that you probably never wanted to know, but anyway, it lets you know why some things move like that.
I love that. So I'm just going to ask just a real quick question. I saw somebody saying that there's an echo. It's probably from all the snow. So let me know that this went away. I see somebody say it's fine in the comments again. So just let us know. We're doing our best. I'll do my magic on the backside. And back to you. Cathy, that's a lot of great information, though, I must say.
Well, and then there's, this is cotton, but it's got some polyester in it because it has something in it called a scrim. Scrum? Anyway, and it's just a piece of interfacing, really thin, and it's polyester, and they needle felt it. So it makes it so it's not going to beard or move. So if you look real close, you want to make sure that when you get your batting that you really read what it says so you know what you're getting. Usually, sometimes it just says cotton batting, but if you read, it's going to say that it's needle felted and there is some polyester in it. So go ahead and make sure that you read, and cotton is really nice. I do like the cotton batting. And then there's polyester. And polyester, it comes and it's just all different weights, but this is a really heavy one because I was thinking we might do something puffy. So this is a polyester batting. And polyester, of course, is man-made, so the fibers are really long. They are man-made, and they're just made out of spinnerets and spinned out. So they're fairly long, so they're pretty stable. So you have the different kinds of battings, and there's also silk batting and bamboo batting. So you have a lot of choices. The silk and bamboo are a little more expensive. The bamboo takes a little bit more processing, so it's a little more expensive, but it is a lovely batting. So that's a lot of batting information. I hope it didn't drive you batty.
I think that's such great information, though. You know, it's not a brother product, but wool batting would be a great thing to add to something, especially for the warmth. I like that idea about the wool. I also like the idea that it's sandwiched in between fabrics, because I'm really allergic to wool. I mean, allergic as in I itch like a cat. Or itch, I should say itch like if I had a cat. So the wool, though, is so warm and it's breathable. It's a whole different thing than polyester. And you really did such a great job describing that. I cannot believe how long those hairs are on there.
Well, I used to spin and weave. And so when you do that, you get a feel for the different fibers and how short or long they are, because the shorter the fiber, the harder it is to spin it because they want to pull apart.
So true. So true. All right. I don't see any questions yet. And I'm just monitoring on the backside to make sure. I didn't hear an echo, so I'm trying to do my best to hear what you guys are hearing. So I think we're okay now. So great information, Cathy. Great information. So, all right. Back to you.
With quilting, I didn't see much to talk about with quilting, because you just put another quilt on if you want to get more warmth in the layering. You just layer another quilt on, and you may want to do one with cotton, one with wool, but it's just put another layer on. So that to me is the layering with the quilts. Now I do want to say that you can also get quilt batting in black, and I didn't do that. Oops, excuse me. And I have this quilt here that I did, and it's just, in the front it wasn't bad. It's got, this is just from Picture Play, actually. So on the back, though, it's all black. And I used a white batting, and it did a lot of bearding. It came through to the back. And I think this was a cotton, it was a cotton one, but it didn't have any of the scrum in it. So it bearded on through. So I had to sort of pick off the little fibers and get them out of there. But if I had used a black batting, nobody would have known. So think about that too. So keep in mind what you've got and what you're doing.
Cathy, I'm going to have you turn that around, because there's a lot of people that have the Aveneer arriving at their house these last few weeks. And I recognize those from Picture Play in the Aveneer. You have to share. Tell us what's there.
Okay, so this is all the different styles in Picture Play. It's the same rows, but all those different styles sew it out differently. It's absolutely amazing. So I used the default. So when they sewed them out the way the style did. So it's sewed them out in the style's colors. But there is a button on there when you go to Picture Play. There's a little button that you can push, toggle to, and it will use the style and how the style sews out. So you can see that some of these, let's do this one down here, because this one is really different. So that's style, that's Geo Art, and that's style number 9. And you can see that it's a really unique style. But and this is the colors that it picked, but I can tell it to use the original colors of the rows, which were red. So there's 10, but you can do 2 different things. So there's really 20 ways to do one picture, except that you also have where you can put in your custom colors. So you can take a picture of some wallpaper or something that has colors that you want to match, and the software, the machine, will use those colors in your Picture Play. You can also, I went into the internet and found some paint chips and picked out the ones that I want my picture to be, and you can get that into your machine, put that on a USB, put it into your machine, and you can use your custom colors. And then you have the regular one. I mean, it's amazing. It is amazing.
It really is. That one that you just held up, it reminded me of the one, I think it's called Stained Glass. It kind of looked like that stained glass version. I love that one with the different colors. So, by the way, speaking of Aveneer, I want to just mention, I see Amanda saying that her Aveneer is on its way, or just arrived yesterday. Do not forget, when you get your Brother Aveneer, to register it on Brother's website, and you will get free access to my masterclass, which shows you a lot of this. But I don't have a quilt as beautiful as Cathy's there, that's for sure. Look at that one.
That's the stained glass. Same
that's
picture.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So that's
So Cathy, there is one quick question for you. Speaking of going back to the batting, by the way, Quiltanon, what a great name. Welcome here for the first time. She's got a beautiful quilt on her screen. Jill, great to see you, Jill. How high, she says, how high loft batting? How is high loft batting in quilts? Say that fast 10 times, Jill. Oh, I'm sorry. Start over, Cathy. I didn't mean to have you muted. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. How high loft batting is in quilts? It's fine. You probably don't want to quilt it a whole lot because it is so puffy. A lot of times they use it just for tying quilts, and it's really, if you really want to show you're piecing or whatever, it's nice because it is so puffy. I don't use it in quilts. To me, it's not hard to stitch it, but I don't know. It just takes something away when you want to leave the puff in there. So you want to quilt in blocks because high loft is usually really high loft is polyester, and with polyester, you don't have to quilt so close together. That's another thing that you want to see on your batting, on the instructions, is how close they recommend that you stitch together, close together, so that it doesn't bunch or move. So cotton and wool are going to move a little bit more than polyester, and so you can quilt it further apart.
That's really interesting. I never even thought about that. I've never looked at the directions to find that. I just started quilting. That's a really great tip. Now I'm going to have to start paying more attention.
Yes. So I don't know if that answered. I hope so. And by any means, I am no expert on batting, so you may need to do a little research on your own. But I do know some, but I am not an expert for sure.
Hey, Jill says thanks. Jill, I thought that was you. I'm like, I recognize that name. Great to see you, Jill. I saw her last week at Tops in Florida. And someone's saying, what's the Aveneer? What is the Aveneer? It's the newest sewing and embroidery machine that Brother has come out with. And it is a fabulous machine. It's starting to be delivered in stores. And be sure to visit your Brother dealers because they're offering some fabulous deals. And I believe, I'm not 100% positive, but I believe at this day on 1/21/2025 that they're still they're running a special of 0% financing. But don't quote me in case it ended yesterday.
Okay. So I am usually with my quilts, I use a cotton fabric. Of course, there's t-shirt quilts. There's all kinds of quilts. T-shirts are mainly cotton, but they are knitted, so you have to stabilize them. But I'm thinking when they said layering, I went to clothing. I thought that's kind of to layer the clothing. So what I'm thinking is there is a pattern that I found, and I didn't have time to make it, and I apologize. But it's a front and a back and a hood, and that's all it is a hood and a front and a back that you zip up. Then I thought you could layer a sleeveless vest over it and then a puffy jacket. So I would do the first two, the hood with a wool, the vest with the cotton, and the puffy jacket with a polyester. So this is, let me do the puffy first.
I'm loving while you're doing this. I'm so excited to watch all the comments. So many people got the Luminaire. That's fantastic. And I see, what did you get? Since I haven't talked to you since the holidays, we've got a couple people that have Sergers, the Stellaire. Yes, the Stellaire. You can still log in and get a free masterclass. So you can also do it with the Serger. So while Cathy's digging, I have to brag up Cathy because she's in the masterclass for the Airflow Serger. And she is amazing. As always, has so much knowledge. But all right, I'll get out of your hair and let you keep going. I can't help it, Cathy.
Well, you're so sweet. She's very kind to me. All right, so this is a really heavy nylon fabric. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it is extremely heavy. It's more for bags and things like that. And it does have a bit of a puff to it. So this is the polyester. And so this is just 2-inch, 3-inch, and 1-inch apart. So with this heavy polyester, I'd probably do the 3-inch for my quilting. So that's the heavy nylon. And this would probably be my vest. I don't know, but anyway. And then this is a polyester cotton blend twill. And you can see how the puffy make this pretty puffy. But I would probably use a different quilting on this and use this as the the hood. So that's a twill.
I love that one. Cathy, I absolutely love that one. I could see a jacket with a nice big cozy zipper out of that, or like you said, a vest. That twill is very rich looking with that quilting.
And then here is your ripstop nylon, which would probably be the outer jacket because it can really be puffed up. It just gets puffed up like a turkey, it's just puffed up. But anyway, it's really nice as far as the polyester goes and the real puffiness. So I just used interfacing in the back because you're going to have a lining in here. So I didn't want to quilt the lining to it. So I just did an interfacing here, a real lightweight interfacing. And then I will do the lining later. So it's not like a quilt sandwich. You're just going to quilt the top and the batting and then have a backing on it, but not a permanent backing. This is one that's going to be hidden with lining. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that would be very similar to some of the brands that I wear when I'm out fishing or ice fishing or when it's cold. I call them the puffer jacket, but there are some that are really lightweight, and then there are some that are more warm. More warm, that's really not proper English, but warmer than the other. But that is, so it's the ripstop. That looked beautiful.
Right. Well, what I was thinking is if you have the wool and the cotton closer to you, that may breathe, and the polyester may keep it all in, but at least you have something there that's letting some out, that's breathing.
That's a big deal. I love that. I think that yellow ripstop, oh gosh, that would make a fabulous jacket.
So then it's onto I'm getting my cotton and my wool mixed up. But wool has a little more well, I'm losing everything. But anyway, so this is the wool. But you can see with this, this is so heavy that there's not much puff to it. But the wool and the ripstop gives you a little bit more. So wool has a more loft to it than the cotton. The cotton's going to be a little flatter. And here is, this is the wool, yeah. And then here is some cotton. So this is pretty basically flat, but so with this, you may want to do some other sort of quilting on it. And I have something that I started in the hoop, and we'll show you that in a minute. And here's another one, and this is the cotton, and that's just totally kind of flat. So what you're going to do with the quilting is just, you're going to keep it in place so it keeps the batting so it won't be moving, but you can get as fancy or work as hard or as less as you want. So if you want more, if you want to do cross hatches, if you want to take it to the embroidery machine, you can do that also.
Here's a quick question for you. Can you use multiple layers of batting in a coat? I usually only use one layer, but as you were talking about maybe using wool and then some poly, why don't you touch on that just for a sec, Cathy?
I'm sure that you could. I don't know if you want to fight with all the layers, but I'm sure that you could, yes.
Yeah, I know.
This is, and you know, I am not necessarily a rule follower. I mean, you know, sewing is so much fun, and there's just such a variety, and there's some that want to just stick to certain rules. And how do you know what can happen if you don't break those rules? You could end up with something just absolutely fantastic, and somebody told you it would never work. That's who I am. I just try and I have plenty of failures, but I sometimes find something that is just really fantastic. It's just, there's no hard and fast rules. You kind of have to know what the fibers are going to do and how they're going to react, and then go from there. You have to know if you're going to be washing it all the time, and you have to go ahead and try that out and take care of that. Use your sample and cut a piece and wash it and see if it shrinks. And so with cotton batting is going to shrink, but oh my goodness, it's such a cute look. I mean, I love the look of the distressed washed cotton. But if you don't like it, then you have to make sure that you take care of that before you make it into a garment or a quilt.
I love that. And you know what? Now you all know why Cathy and I get along so well, because we love to break the rules when it comes to sewing. And you know what? You might end up with a few in the trash or samples to show as what not to do. But you know what? I'll bet you 1 out of 10 times you're going to find something really amazing that you would have never tried before. Wouldn't you agree?
I definitely agree. Yes. Yeah. It's just so much fun.
It is. All right. I think we got all the questions.
Okay. So let's go over to, give me a second to go over to the machine, and I'll show you the digital dual feed foot.
All right. While she's switching her camera to go to the machine, I see a comment from Sharon. Sharon, where do you find the master classes? Where are they located? So first of all, if you have the Brother Airflow Serger, the Brother Stillaire, the Brother Aveneer, just register your machine as of this date on Brother's site, and they will give you 1 year free access to the master class. The Luminaire, now you just need to contact your Brother dealer and you can purchase it from them. So that one has changed a little bit. So that's all you have to do is register your machine and watch your email, check your spam to make sure they'll send you an activation code and you're in. And I want to throw one more thing out. Somebody had asked about the Aveneer masterclass and the embroidery designs. Those are 2 totally different codes. So make sure you're using your right code at the right spot. Otherwise, email me. I've been helping a few of you with that. So perfect. So Cathy, you're back. We got you. And I want to let everyone know that we were playing with this camera earlier. We turned the lights off, so it might look a little bit like a coloring book, but we did it on purpose because you're going to get to see the laser light really well.
So on my screen, I can see the digital dual feed, but we're just concentrating down here on the sewing. So, but what I want to do is I'm going to turn on my guideline. And so now you can see my guideline come on and my grid. Now my grid is at 15.5 millimeters, and I would like it at 1 inch. So I'm going to press on the screen until it comes up and tells me that it's at 1 inch. So you can see it growing there on the screen, and there it is. 25.4 is 1 inch. And so now all I have to do is I've got a sewn line here, and I want my next one 2 inches away from that. So I'm going to put that line on my stitched line here, and I'm going to lower my foot, unplug my foot control, and use my start button and just guide along that line. And I'm going to slow myself down a little bit so I can guide easier. And there you go. And when I come to the end, I'm going to just finish up and use my scissors. And there you go. And now you've got your perfectly spaced lines. And this grid is just amazing. So you can go the other way. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to sew here. And if you find that your upper fabric, like with the ripstop, it looks like the upper fabric, I don't know if you can see that or not, would move a little bit. So there's a little bit of a wrinkle. So, and this one is fine, but when you do them close together, it's gonna move this fabric a little bit. So I can adjust the belt on my digital dual feed foot to move just a little bit faster to pull that fabric in and not have a wrinkle. So that's what's so amazing with this foot. You can speed it up this belt or slow it down. You don't have the little foot walking and pulling your fabric, so you have no control over it. You have the belt, and it can pull the fabric at different speeds because the belt can move slower or faster. So this upper fabric, we can move more or less to even things out and give you the perfect stitch, perfect feeding of fabric. So the upper and the lower are feeding perfectly the same.
I absolutely love that grid, Cathy, and there's a few comments here. Robin said, love the grid. And you can change colors on the grid so it can show on your fabric. There are so many different features here that you can use with that, like as she's changing colors right there. And also you can make the grid bigger, smaller. It's really nice. And then Cathy, I'm gonna take myself out, but Joyce wants to know, how do you adjust the belt? She wanted a little more information on that, but check that grid out, guys. It's amazing. I just love it. And I believe Cathy's on the Luminaire today. Somebody was asking.
Yes. So there is a little, she asked how to adjust okay, let me switch cameras real quick.
Okay.
Give me a second here.
While she switches that, so I just want to point out that grid. So she's on the Brother Luminaire, which is an amazing machine. On the Brother Aveneer, there's actually more colors. Now you can change to 16 different colors. It's unbelievable. So again, she's on the Luminaire, and those with the Aveneer, you might notice you have a lot more color choices with that grid, but it works exactly the same way, just with a little bit larger projection area. So I think I see Cathy back to her other screen here. Bring her back up.
So here, up here, it tells you what foot you're using, the differential feed, because it's plugged in. And here's my grid, and here's how I change my grid. So if I come up and you can see here that it's in millimeters, but when you come to the 1/2 inch, it tells you that you're at the 1/2 inch. That's 1/2 inch, then it tells you 5/8 and an inch. So you have a better feel for exactly what we're doing, because we like inches, I like inches. So that's that. And then when we come into the settings here, and we're going to scroll to the dual feed adjustment. So I'm going to push this button here, and it's telling me that this is feeding 1-to-1, and then I can make it go slower or I can make it go faster. So minus slows the belt down, and plus speeds the belt up. So it's going to push in more fabric. I was getting a little wrinkles, so I may want to slow it down. So is that what was wanted?
Yep, that looked perfect. I think we double checked that hopefully that made sense to you. Lisa says that foot's amazing. I know, I totally agree. Joyce, did that help you to see how that works? So those adjustments she's making, it's actually the rubber part on the foot that it's adjusting. So it's totally different than a walking foot. That's always, Joyce, is it on the Dream? I think the Dream machine had the Move It foot. It was just a little bigger one. Do you remember, Cathy?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah, it's that's why the foot is so big. If you looked at it, it's a really big foot, but that's because it has a motor in it to adjust the speed of the belt. So we don't have to do anything but adjust it on the screen.
Yeah, it's just awesome. Okay, yep, you got that. She said, thank you.
All right. So is there any other questions about the dual feed foot or the grid?
Any questions, guys, on the grid? Lisa says, thank you for explaining that. Yeah, so yes, this is a really cool feature. And Annette, yes, it is on the Stellaire as well. It sure is. So did anyone want to see anything else on the grid while she's over there? Do you want to point that out one more time? Yeah, go ahead and show that one more time, Cathy.
The grid?
Yep.
So do I need to switch cameras?
No, I think they wanted to see how you set that up on the machine.
How I set it up on the machine. Okay. All right. So I'm going to come out of here and say okay here. So the grid is right here with your guidelines. So you have your guideline markers, and when you turn your guideline marker on, it's usually main. It comes up to the main one. So this is where you pick your line. You move it, make it longer, or move it left to right. And this one mirror images it. So if you have it on the left side and you want it the same distance away on the right side, you just push your mirror image and that'll move it over to the right side. So this is to move your guideline. I like to do this when I'm doing a blanket stitch. I like to put my marker on the head of my stitch so I can guide the edge of my applique right on that edge and get a perfect applique. So this is the length of the guideline right here. This is the length of the line, so you can get it long, medium, or small. If you're doing a curve, you may want a small. This is a shape, a line, or a dot. And then when you come to sub, this is where you can have two lines if you want. This is your grid right here. So you can turn your grid on, and this is your angles. Here's your colors, and here's your grid size. So I think that's just about all of it there.
That was perfect. Everybody said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know, yes, you can. You learn so much stuff here. It does come with the Dream. And Jill said, can you order the new thinner foot for the Luminaire? Yeah, you can go to your brother dealer. Well, you are a brother dealer and a brother dealer. But yes, you can order that foot separate for any of them. The Luminaire, the Dream Machine, if you didn't have the thinner version. Basically it's thinner as in thicker this way. So right. It just made it, I call it the skinny. Compact.
Yeah, the compact digital dual feed foot. Yes, you can get that for the other machines. And you just need a port to plug it into so the motor will work in the foot. So that's that.
Everybody's saying thank you. Sorry, I muted myself, but everybody's saying thank you, thank you. All right, I'll get on here if you have more to show, Cathy.
I have, if I can find what I had all kinds of things, but I can't find them. But anyway, this is, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll just put it up here. So what I did is I wanted to quilt a vest back. So I traced my pattern onto the fabric. It's the center of a vest in the back. And so I traced onto my fabric, and with my quilting, I have to have a line at the top and a line at the side. So I went ahead and put a top line for the upper part of the quilting and a side line for the side there, so that I can go ahead and do my edge-to-edge quilting on my garment. And the back, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see the stitching?
Yes, we can. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
So after I stitch it all out, then I can cut out my garment and go on to the next one. So this is just a way to make sure that, this way I don't have to keep quilting a whole large piece when I don't need it and waste some of it. So I wanted to waste as little as possible. So if you trace your pieces onto your fabric, then you know where your quilting should be.
I love that tip.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I muted myself again. I was just trying to get rid of the echo. So that's exactly what I do. That's a perfect way to show that tip where you draw your pattern onto the fabric and then either do edge to edge, or there's many creative ways in my design center you can do this. But what a great way. Then also, even if it shrinks up your fabric a little bit, once you're finished quilting that fabric, then you can lay the pattern piece on it. And if it adjusted at all, you'll know that. I mean, that's one of my favorite tips, Cathy.
Exactly. It's just really nice to do. I do this with a lot of different things. When I should show you my Winnie the Pooh jacket. You want to take me off for just a minute so I can go get my Winnie the Pooh jacket?
Oh, sure. What do you all think? You want to see the Winnie the Pooh jacket? I'm going to go with yes. So just give me a thumbs up when you get back. And I would love to know in the comments, how many of you have tried doing the edge to edge? It's so simple. In fact, in the Aveneer Masterclass, I did edge to edge on some denim. I didn't even use stabilizer. I just wanted to make a really cool stitch on the denim. I think it was very similar to the stitch that she had there. And then I'm going to use that fabric and turn it into a skirt and a little bag. So stay tuned for that. But any questions for Cathy while she's bringing up her Winnie the Pooh choices? Yes, we want to see the Winnie the Pooh. Crystal, that's awesome. So her teenage daughters use brother, you need a few more machines. Who doesn't need more machines in their room? I know. Okay, so Cathy's down, not quite back yet. She went to go get that. Annette says, I have it. I love it. So was that helpful for you guys to see how that move it foot, how you change the settings? And you know, the settings go -10 to 0 and then +10, -10. I can't remember which order, but the best way to do that is to grab a couple layers of fabric. Sometimes I'll use something crazy like a minky or something like that and stitch from one end to the other. Make sure your fabric is the same length when you start, and you'll see at the end which, if the top gets shorter or the bottom gets shorter, you'll understand how to do those settings. So I think, Cathy, are you back?
I'm almost there. Hold on just a second. Okay.
Okay, I think I see something coming on the screen. Almost. She's almost there.
Okay.
All right, you're up.
So this is a jacket that I did with the Winnie the Pooh designs. And so I was able to, what I did was I traced my pattern piece and placed my design right where I wanted it. And then if it wasn't right, I can move and then cut it out. So I always do my embroidery with the pattern traced on it before I cut it out. It just makes it so much easier than trying to put it on after, especially since you see the little bit of distance I had here. If I had cut that out, it would have been very difficult to embroider that.
That's beautiful, Cathy. Absolutely beautiful.
And then this, then on the inside, I just thought this was fun. I did an applique, and so it says, hello there.
Oh, look how cute that is.
Anyway, so that's I just think it's so much easier if you're going to make a garment to make sure that you do all your embroidery first before you sew your garment together.
I agree 100%. And for those that have watched me in the past, when I bring around my white stretch jeans that I embroidered that fit perfectly before I embroidered half the leg, know that if you're using a garment that has stretch fabric, if it's really fitted, make sure you keep that in mind too. And I don't think I really need to explain why. Now the jeans just hang in the closet.
All right, I'm going to put the embroidery foot on.
And you'll see, look at how fast and easy it was to change the foot. Some people I know have said, you know, when I'm using that digital dual movement foot, it gets in the way. It's going to be too much work to take it on and off. Absolutely not true.
No,
it's like that, just in seconds.
So I'm going to go home and go to embroidery and say, okay. Now, what I've already got this into memory, but I'll show you where I went to get this design. So this is edge-to-edge quilting here. And so I picked this design here. In the new Aveneer, you're going to have more, so you're going to have more choices. So this is the design that I picked. I went to set, and I didn't allow myself enough room, but I'm not going to, it kind of works. So I'm going to say that it's 24 up here. So I'm going to put 24 and set, and it's going to come up here, and I'll do 30 for the length, 3, 0, and set. And then you pick your hoop size. Now, when you pick your hoop size, it kind of changes the size of the design, and that's the hoop that you should use. You can use a bigger hoop, but you probably don't want to do that. So I did a 10 5/8 by 10 5/8. So there is the choice that I wanted to make, and I'm going to go to next. And it's telling me that I have 20 pieces here, and I may not use all of them because once I get part of mine sewn. And with this, some people think that they have to do them just right in the right order or things happen. But I could skip this one right here if I didn't need it. I could skip number 6 and go on to number 7. So there is a place in here to skip. And so you don't have to sew them all out if you don't need them. You can put in more than you need and then not use it if you don't have to. So I want a single stitch, not a triple. So I'm going to make sure that it stays on the single right there. Color, the blue is fine. And then you need to put it in memory so the machine knows where it needs to set everything. So I'll put it in memory and say OK. So it comes up first here. This is the one that I used before, so we'll just come there. And I'm going to put excuse me while I put the hoop on the machine. And I'm going to select this one and just go to, see, you can see right here, it says number 12. This is the one I want to pick if I want the machine to connect them. If I want to connect these myself, I can pick the one that I want and then just sew them one by one and use the projection and the camera to connect them. But I'd rather have the machine do it. So I'm going to push the first one and go to set. And it's telling me to hoop the upper corner, which I've already done. I'm just going to sew over what I've already sewn and say OK. And it tells it, OK, we want to put this dot up in the upper left-hand corner. So I'm going to say OK. And then it's going to move up there, and it's going to show on the, I'm just going to follow the instructions on the screen now. I'm going to change back to the other camera, if that's okay. So that we can see.
I'll take you out while you go to the other camera, and just give me thumbs up when you're ready. Everybody's saying super cute. This is a great demo on Edge to Edge. And if you didn't catch it, you can choose between a single stitch and a triple stitch. So for the denim that I did a triple stitch because my fabric was a little stretchy. But you can also use a single stitch. It will, really depends on what kind of quilting you want on there. So I think I see you back, Cathy.
I am. Okay, so you can see that green light there. I need to take that and move it up to those lines that I marked up here. So I'm just going to take it right up there and move it over. I'm just using the buttons on the screen. Come back down. Okay, so that's set in that corner. It may not be perfect, but we'll just deal with it. So I'm going to say OK. And now it's telling me that I need to make sure that I get it even on that top line here. So it's going to have me put a line right up here. So I'm going to say OK. And so I will need to make sure that it's right on that line, and it looks pretty good. And the reason it does that is if it's crooked, then you can angle it a little bit and make it just perfectly, just perfectly where it needs to be. So I'm going to say OK. And it goes to layout. And what I do when I go to the embroidery side, I'm going to go and I'm going to push needle plus and minus. And when I do that, it goes to the center, but that's not where it starts sewing. it starts sewing when I do +1, and that's where it's going to start sewing. So I do +1, and I take my thread, and this is for a quilt. I wouldn't do it for this because there's just no need to, because I'm going to trim it away anyway, but this is for quilts. I'm going to do needle up, needle down, needle up, and then I would bring up my bobbin thread, and that way I can bury those threads later on and not have them be in the way. So that's mainly for the quilting side.
That's a good tip. That's a huge conversation for so many people. They say, do you always bring your thread up? And like you said, you don't do it unless you're doing quilting. So, but this is a huge conversation. I would love to know in the comments, do you pull your threads up when you're doing this for quilting? Because it's like a 50-50.
Yeah, it's if you want to bury it in the batting. It's a 50-50, I suspect. So then you just sew, and that's it. And then you'll get to the next one. And when you do bring it up, you have to kind of make sure that it doesn't get caught in the foot.
That projector makes it so simple and easy to line it up as well. So in case you guys are wondering, that camera, it's not blurry. It's actually set this way so you can actually see the projector better. So don't think that you need to wash your glasses. It's just the ways you can see it. But I will say on here, as you see her embroidering, it is so simple to line up this edge to edge, and it tells you line up now after this piece, it'll show where the stitch ends, which is usually in the middle somewhere, and that's where you'll line up your first stitch. And then it also gives you guidelines so you can line it up on the top and the sides so you're not putting your designs in skewed. Honestly, the first time I ever did this, I thought, okay, I'll do this. I'll do it on a piece of fabric and just use it for junk in case I screw it up. You really can't screw it up. It shows you right on the screen, and the projector shows you exactly where to move your fabric.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Robin says they want more built-in designs. So Robin, by the way, you can also purchase additional custom designs. One of our brother educators, Cindy Hogan, she has some that you can add into the custom section there. So there are options for that as well. Just keep that in mind.
Oh, and we didn't talk much about threads. The thread that I used here is just a cotton thread, and I use the same in the bobbin, even if with the embroidery. So I'm going to use the same thread in the bobbin that I use in the top.
And it's a cotton thread. Is there any specific weight they should look for, Cathy, or just any standard cotton thread?
I just use a regular sewing cotton. I think it's 50.
Okay.
Just if you do a whole lot, just be sure to clean out your bobbin area several times because it does get fuzzy. But the thing is, when we do embroidery, we're using a 60 weight bobbin thread and a 40 weight top thread. So that bobbin thread is lighter and it pulls the top thread to the bottom. So if you do change, and I use the green screwed bobbin case all the time. I don't switch to the purple dot. I just use the green screwed bobbin case. And when you change to the thread in the bobbin being the same weight as the top, they tend to meet in the middle better. So when I'm doing quilting, I like to use the same weight in the bobbin that I do in the top.
That's a really good tip. So Cathy, you got a couple questions on that. Annette says, why are you using cotton? And Anna wants to know, if you're using cotton, are you using an embroidery needle or what sewing machine needle are you using?
Well, the needle doesn't know what thread I have, so embroidery's fine. I just have a regular needle in there. Why cotton? Why not? Yeah, you can use the polyester, the embroidery thread. It just has a shine. I just had the cotton thread there, and I just used it. I don't want you to be afraid to use a certain thread, because usually so I have to use an embroidery thread. Well, you don't have to use an embroidery thread. You can use a different kind of thread just as long as it moves through the needle well.
Yeah, and Cathy, that is huge. I'm so glad you mentioned that you used a different thread because, think outside the box, guys. When you're doing some embroidery, when I'm embroidering on denim, I'll use just regular standard thread because I want it to look a little bit more, a little thicker, a little rough. So keep that in mind that there are so many different threads you can choose from. So I'm really glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, and the thing with cotton, of course, is that it can break a little bit easier than polyester because polyester is just one strong fiber. And as we all know, when we use polyester as we're doing embroidery, if it gets stuck, it's going to break the needle because it's so strong. It pulls that needle back and breaks the needle, whereas the cotton thread would probably just break. So the thread would break and not the needle. So it's just a choice, and I did it because I grabbed it first. If you really want to know.
But I'm glad you mentioned it because there are so many aspects that cotton thread can look so rich on, especially if you're using, depending on what fabric you're using. I love that you mentioned it because I think some people just get so focused that if I'm embroidering, I have to use embroidery thread. Not true. So thank you.
Yeah. Yes, as a matter of fact, I did those crocheted lace designs out of the Still Air, and I did that with the cotton thread in the top and the bottom, and they're just really pretty. You just have to clean out the pattern more.
Those designs are absolutely beautiful. I actually did some with cotton thread, and then I also did some with embroidery thread just to see what it would, look like. And of course, use the same thread in the bobbin. They both have two totally different textures. I mean, it's really fun. And those crochet designs are built into quite a few machines now. So check your brother machine and see if you have any in there because they're beautiful.
It's amazing, and that's what experimenting with different threads and gives you different textures. I find the polyester sometimes a little bit spongier for the lace than the cotton. It's just fun. You never know what you're going to come across. Yeah. So then it tells me if the embroidery is finished or move on to the next pattern. And I'll say okay to move on to the next pattern. And then it would take me through, I'd have to rehoop and move it to the side and line things up again. So that's all you have to do.
And you can see that grid. You can really see that grid well. And like you mentioned, it's showing you exactly what it should look like in the hoop. Do you mind taking us to your screen real quick before we end this session? Because I want them to see how it shows you right exactly how to have your fabric in the hoop.
So now it's telling me to move my hoop. I'll say okay. And it's telling me to line up the green dot that you've seen earlier with where the stitch stopped. And so I would move up and I'd say okay. And then I would use my arrows to move that line up to right where I needed it to be, and then just start stitching again. Well, it would after this, it's going to have me come up and make sure that it's on the line up here like it did before. So they want to keep it straight. And so after you get that done, you say okay, and you're ready to go again.
So simple. So simple. So everybody's saying, thank you. This is so much fun. So, hey, Robin, I'll see if I can get some information for you on the custom quilting designs and things like that. I'll try to check that out before next week's live show. Any questions on Edge to Ed? Everyone's loving it. Vivian, can you use 30 weight thread?
30 weight. Probably.
I think I would test it. Test it on the design, because if it's too dense.
30 weight is a little heavy. I would slow my machine down for sure. I would sew rather slowly. And
I agree.
Yeah, Yeah, I would do a test to make sure.
Yeah, and also it really depends on the design, how dense the design is.
30 weight isn't too bad. You could probably do that, but I would slow down. Definitely would not want to use a 12 weight, that's for sure.
Definitely. Amanda, congratulations. When I saw you said you're waiting for the Aveneer, I was like, I didn't know you got the Aveneer, so Santa was good to you this year. That's a huge upgrade. Cathy, this has been such great information, and everybody in here is saying thank you. They love it. Amanda says she loves the ambassadors and educators. You're so well trained and informative. I agree. And you know what I love is I learn stuff even when I'm on here and I sew all the time. That was such a great tutorial on batting, and I'm going to start experimenting a little bit more than I used to.
Yeah, and I learn from everybody else too. I mean, the people, the comments, you learn things all the time. You never stop learning.
You never stop. Well, thank you, Cathy. All the brother fans out here, welcome back to the party. It's a Happy New Year. And so our next live show will be next Tuesday. And some of you had asked to learn more about a little bit of software. Don't forget Brother Educator Cindy Hogan. She does do a live show on Tuesdays. I think it's at 4:30 Eastern. She's on Central, so I always get confused. But go check out her page and you'll find it. And there's a lot of info there. So, Cathy, I can't wait to try this. And thank you again.
Well, enjoy, everybody. Thank you. Happy New Year.
All right. And Happy New Year. On that note, I'll let you all see how the voice guidance works on the Aveneer. Until next time, happy sewing.
Attach the embroidery frame in the initial sewing position.